Thank you, Helen. Always a pleasure to meet with colleagues across the sector. So welcome, especially giving your time up on a half term. I don't know if it's half term where you are, but it's certainly where we are. So pleased that you could join us today. So just introductions, and I'll get Patrick to introduce himself as well. So I'm the group head of digital education development and AI at Activate Learning. My team are do all the whizzy things which are exciting and fun for the learners, from developing assets to developing the courses on our LMS. Patrick?
And hi, my name is Patrick. I am our group AI and
Sorry,
innovation.
I realized that.
I am Patrick. I am our group AI and innovation specialist, and effectively, I'm our system admin for Canvas LMS, but also am developing all of the neat AI tools and platforms that we'll be talking about today, which is very exciting. So, Kim, back over to you.
Lovely. Sorry, just sharing an office with a colleague. Thank you. So we're going to quickly run through our journey, and then we'll get into the really fun stuff, which is our Activate AI thread of activity to support our learners, which is ALIA Activate Tutors and the marking assistant there. So if you could move us on, please, Patrick. So for those of you that don't know us that well, just a quick Activate Learning at a glance. So we are quite a big organisation for our college provision. We bridge 3 counties, Oxfordshire, Berkshire and Surrey, with 8 geographical locations from Banbury in the north of Oxfordshire, Oxford City Centre, Blackbird Leys on the outskirts, Reading, Bracknell, Wokingham, Guildford, Farnham and Merris Wood. And we also have a strong online provision for GCSEs, Access, HNC, H&D and higher technical qualifications. So as you can imagine, we have a broad demographic of learner, and that's sort of represented there in the slides. And so we have we've had a strategic focus now for developing our digital skills, but also emerging technologies, which includes AI. So we've really explored in great detail how we can harness the power of these tools to support our staff and students. So I'm really proud to say that that was recognised at the Learning Awards, and thank you for that shout out. Helen, we did win the Best Use of AI in Learning Award at the Learning and Performance Institute's Learning Awards last Thursday. And we're very proud that we were able to do that. So let's take you on our journey with AI. So as an organisation, when we first started looking at AI back in December 2022, we thought, what do we expect AI to do? So we wanted it to provide personalised learning experiences, tailored to individual needs. Because of that demographic of learner, we need to have accessible tools. We have to develop the inclusion. We wanted to automate administrative tasks so that we could free up educators' time, but also time of colleagues across the engine room, our group services, so to speak. Enhance the quality and timeliness of the feedback that's provided to the students, and have that consistency in quality by providing tools, and then support the continuous monitoring and reflection of our learning processes through the lens of our learning philosophy. And that's a really unique aspect of how we implement our tools. So moving on to the next slide, what were our challenges? So those key challenges that we faced were as with everybody, the ethical and responsible use of the AI tools, training staff to use AI effectively, but also making sure that they had those fundamental digital skills, that we didn't bypass the necessity to do that. incorporating AI into existing organizational frameworks. So we responded. So we launched quite quickly our positioning statement. We have got now a robust AI usage policy and an ethical consideration statement. We run workshops and training sessions, our AI breakfast sessions ahead of the teaching day work really nicely with our staff, and we have good attendance to those. And then our digital frameworks rely on Canvas Instructure, which is our delivery platform, Activate Learning Online. And so we make accessible the tools through that platform for our learners. So we have that consistency, and we can collaborate with tutors to make sure that the tools are fit for purpose, and that really high quality there. So looking very quickly at our journey, you can see a timeline there. We will share our slides, but so ChatGPT came out in November. Patrick picked that up exceptionally quickly and brought it to the table at our whole team's CPD in December. And we had our very first training session on the tool. And we looked at the considerations, didn't we, Patrick? And, we thought, where are the tutors going to go? Well, plagiarizing, essays and those sorts of things. And there was a clear concern that would happen, but we settled in, it's got to be part of the student toolkit, and we needed to really start thinking about how we should be guiding our students to use it. As the AI is out the bag, it's not going away, and we all face these considerations as part of our day-to-day as new tools come out, such as DeepSeek and things like that. So our journey there, I won't go through every bit of it, but you can see that we have consistently and continuously been reviewing and looking at our AI provision within Activate Learning. And I've got to say, AI is one of our strands. So we have Activate Extended Realities. So we're looking at developing all of our extended realities tool, and we have digital competencies as well. So we're developing the baseline skills of our staff and students continuously too. But AI is our topic of choice today. So you can see there that we have developed our own tools and we've launched them, and we have some really exciting news to share. So Patrick, if you could move us on to the next slide. So just looking at that, Activate AI is one of our internal brands, and we have Alia, our Activate Learning Intelligent Assistant, and Patrick will demonstrate that to you. We have our AI tutors, and then our AI feedback assistant. So I'm going to hand you over to the exceptional Patrick, and you'll see these tools in use. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kim. So got these three tools that I'll be demoing here briefly, and so I'll be showing you each one quickly and then just pointing out some of the ways that our learning philosophy has been implemented in each of those and what we've done to make them what we think a little bit special. So first of all, I'd like to talk about Alia, the Activate Learning Intelligent Assistant. Now, this is our general AI assistant, AI chatbot, and I'll just do a quick screen share here before going back to some of the other specifications about it. So Alia here, basic interface, as you can see, looks sort of like many AI tools do. This is running within our Microsoft Azure environment. It's running with our own local AI endpoint. So key thing about the way that we've built this was we wanted to ensure that, there was no data leaving our organization, no data leaving the UK GDPR regulatory environment, which is not the case, of course, with external tools like ChatGPT and Google Gemini. And as we started to develop it, well, the first thing that we realized was that most AI tools that were just sort of out there in the market weren't quite working for our staff because they didn't have the right knowledge in it. So the first thing that we did with Alia was plug it into a knowledge base of it. So let's tell me about GCSE English at writing. So we took all of our course specifications that we deliver with, all of our schemes of learning, all of our planning documents, as well as scrapes of relevant documents out of our SharePoint environment and out of our marketing website to ensure that Alia had all the relevant information that it would need for our staff. Next thing that we did was we found that people weren't quite sure how they could approach Alia. They weren't sure what was meaningful to ask it. So to support them with that, we put in these prompt support buttons under this learn something, edit something, create something category. So, and that puts a skeleton prompt here that shows users how, they can ask meaningful questions to Alia. So let's do a scheme of learning for level 2 business over 36 weeks. Select the units for me, guide to learning hours, 6 per week. And then we found that, what Alia was producing initially didn't quite match what our organization wanted. So we started including in lots of subroutines and instruction sets in it. So for instance, if I ask it to do a scheme of learning, it then goes through a back-end, multi-stage process where it knows exactly how to build up a scheme of learning in the correct format using our correct learning cycle pedagogy, including the correct integrations that we need in order to tick all of our boxes on that. Because we really wanted to ensure that what Alia was doing was what our staff actually needed it to do. We've put in some other features like, being able to upload files or have it produce its own PowerPoints based off of our organizational PowerPoint template as well. But the most recent thing we've put in it, which is, I think, kind of cool, is we've put in some GDPR safe data links here. So as the user, I can choose to let Alia know some key information about me, who I am, what my role is, as well as what courses I'm teaching on our Canvas LMS, as well as the learner's assessed digital competencies skills. We have all of our learners do a digital competencies assessment. And so I might go, hi, Alia, please assess the strengths and weaknesses of my learners for digital competencies. And Alia doesn't mind the spelling. And so Alia can then go through and tell me that, here are the strengths and weaknesses for your learners based off their digital competencies. And I could then say, please create a lesson plan for GCSE English, paper 1, question 3, based around improving digital collaborating. And not only can Alia then produce such a lesson plan using our, again, organizational framework and structure for that, but Alia can actually go ahead and build that and pop that into my course itself. And then once I send it, it then writes up the assignment and pops it over into the Canvas course with an appropriate rubric. Unpublished, of course, because the teacher needs to be able to review it before the students gain access to it. But all of those little feature things are all added in as a direct response to usage and requirements that were coming from our users and our stakeholders as they were getting to grips with Alia and saying, oh, well, I love that it does this, but it would be even better if it could do that. And because it's something that we built ourselves, it's something that we are able to do. So here's just sort of a summary of some of the things that we've been doing within Alia. The next thing that we're adding into it is summaries of required needs and interventions for classes based off of the EHCP data that their learners in those courses have. And again, we're doing that in a way that is very GDPR safe, where the AI endpoint isn't seeing anything it shouldn't be seeing, but is going to be able to support staff even better with ensuring that the resources that are generated actually meet what the specific learning needs and outcomes of their learners are. And our staff have been very positive in terms of the feedback that they have provided. It's had a decent amount of usage there, where it has so far responded to over 100,000 user queries from over 2,000 staff members. It's produced a total of over 30 million words. And in terms of staff survey responses, very good across the board. What we're especially proud of is that staff are reporting that, Alia saves them more time and gives them a higher quality of response than using off-the-shelf tools as well. So that is Alia. Alia is, to be clear, just a staff-facing tool at the moment. We are investigating making a student version of Alia, but we are not quite comfortable yet with the behavior of what we're doing. We're still refining it, but we want to be sure that anything we put in students' hands is 100% fit for purpose. So moving towards, I know some other organizations are in that place of comfort, maybe, but we want to get a little bit better before we push that to students. But we do have some tools that we are using with students, and we've got our Activate AI tutors, which are with students. So these are some tools that we have actually launched February of last year. So we're coming up next week, I think, on our 1-year anniversary of our AI tutors, which I do believe is a first for further education for an in-house developed AI tutor. And the way that these things work is we design them based around a purely growth mindset perspective, where the only thing this tool is supposed to do is to help you get yourself unstuck if you're not sure what to do. So what these tutors do in the back end is they try to figure out what thought processes have been evidenced in what the learner's saying, and then engage in metacognitive coaching with the learner, suggesting next steps. Think about this, try this, to help learners continue to work and develop independently. We don't want them to be trying to, replace a tutor or replace a teacher or give, feedback instead of a teacher on these things. But we want to just support them in getting themselves unstuck until they can see the teacher. Now, we have embedded these things in our instance of Canvas LMS. We are looking to put them in an LTI format so that we could share them with other organizations. That's an ongoing development thing. I saw the question from Mark there. But at the moment, we just plug them into Canvas, A, because Canvas handles all the GDPR stuff that end, and B, because that keeps them transparent in terms of usage. If you can see who's using it if it's in Canvas. We initially launched these things with our online-only GCSE Maths and English provision, but we've since expanded out. So because the student experience has a couple workflow steps, I've got 2 short videos here, each one less than a minute. So I will turn over to the videos for a second. And one more, that is sort of a general purpose tutor. We also have a specific one for maths, just because mathematics is a very different world. You're not submitting an essay in maths usually. So we have a special maths one. Yep. So the AI English tutor and math tutor, these have been rolled out, starting with a pilot with the online courses over the summer. We've rolled them out to the general organization this past September, and we're seeing pretty good usage in terms of pickup there. Over 30,000 uses with the maths one, about 1/10 of that for the English one. That's sort of down to the fact that with maths you are answering a lot more questions in a row than you are with English. Um, Learner survey responses are very positive, and we actually have some impact analysis be able to share with you from the January release of the GCSE data, which is very exciting. So in terms of direct learner voice, in addition to the statistics there, the learners do pick up on the fact that it doesn't just like give you the answer like ChatGPT might. And most of them, with a few exceptions, most of them do find that very positive, and they do really see the value in, this sort of metacognitive coaching angle rather than a give you the answer and tell you how you were meant to get there angle that a lot of tools have. And this is just an extract from a much bigger impact analysis that we've done, but this includes most of the highlights in it there. So we were able to, with our pilot group, with about 150 learners that were in that, run a lot of different types of statistical analysis on that. First of all, determining that the AI tutor and usage of other tools were all statistically independent variables. We were able to figure out what the relationship was between what our learner profiles were and who used our tools. And the at the end of the day, sort of big number that we were very excited by was we found that with a p-value of 0.009, so well below the statistical significance threshold of 0.05, that using the AI tutor 10 times raised a student's expected grade and expected grade improvement by just over a third of a grade. Now, we found that that was a logarithmic improvement, a diminishing returns improvement. So if you use it 10 times, you should expect to see your grade go up by a third. If you use it then 100 times, you would see it go up by another third, 1,000 times for another third. So there was a huge impact for occasional meaningful usage of the tutor. But then we didn't expect, nor did we design it to be the sort of thing that learners would be using 100 times in a row. It's supposed to get you unstuck when you're stuck. And so we were very, very pleased to see that. And yet that effect that we found did hold up. That is independent of other general engagement measures like attendance or use of other AI tools that we're giving them, like Century, Maths and English we give them access to. What we're really happy with, actually, was we found that the AI tutors were equally likely to be used by both the highest, middle, and lowest cohorts of learners. There was no sort of like, effect where the better students used it more. And those with external exam arrangements students actually used it more, which is great because we had seen this as sort of an accessibility aid tool all along. And the learners were responding to it in that way, which was very nice. So this was a really big pilot for our team. This was our first, pilot of AI tools with learners. And we thought it was really successful. And we think that was because, first of all, we started with a very clear use case in terms of who our learners were with our online learners, what they needed, which was, additional support because online students often feel that they are maybe lacking in that close sort of over-the-shoulder support that tutors can give in face-to-face, and then build tools specifically around that learner to solve that problem that learner has. That's what we did here. When we first started with it, there were a lot of stumbles with it where we weren't sure whether the behavior was going to be what was useful. So we were very transparent with the learners. This is experimental. This is iterative. We are developing it. Please come along this journey with us. And they were very excited to do so, saying, oh, this is cool. This is new. This is exciting. But we were very transparent with them and had them, sign waivers about this is what we think it will do. These are the risks that we see with it. And we were able to leverage other systems like working with Canvas as well. And finally, we always ensured that, the tutor was the person who had their finger on the on-off button on these tools and could always control whether or not students had access to it. And then I've got just one more tool to kind of briefly show, which is our AI feedback assistant. Now, when we were developing our AI tutors, the initial behavior that we were looking for was, oh, well, maybe we'll have it try to grade the students' work for them, and maybe we'll have it give them feedback. And our first response upon floating this with our faculty stakeholders was something along the lines of, are you insane? Why would you do that? Obviously, they told us immediately that would undermine the tutor, that would be inappropriate, that would confuse the student. And we thought, oh, yeah, that's a really good point. I'm glad that we talked with you before we started developing it. But they did like the idea. And so we took that idea and we built that as a tool for tutors, for a feedback assistant that could apply some of those things, like apply this ability of AI to, cross-reference a rubric against an assignment and quickly show the points where it matches and still leverage, the advantages of that. And so we built that AI feedback assistant. The idea is that it will then produce a report for the teacher, giving them an analysis of the strengths and weaknesses, pre-write some suggested feedback, and then kind of give its thoughts on grading along with its, like confidence interval levels and all of that to try to support and accelerate tutor marking, but still keeping the tutor in 100% complete control in terms of what actually gets put to their students and what just gets thrown out as inapplicable or not useful in this case. This was something that required a lot of development time, obviously, but we thought it was worth investing in as an organization because of the huge amount of time that tutors spend in marking and feedback. Everyone knows how important it is, and how much of that is in repetitive actions that could maybe be, sub-bits of the marking process could be offloaded to AI while keeping the tutor in charge of the most important bits and freeing up more time for those most important bits. So the goal was support the tutor, see if we can get AI to leverage its knowledge of our specifications, but also the specific assignment briefs that are used, and, keep the tutor in control of what's going on here. So just a very quick demo of what it looks like here. So if I've got this assignment within our Canvas instance here, this is an assignment that a tutor posted, and this tutor has a rubric that's in that assignment. So then the tutor has, the student submission, And within the Canvas speed grader, we've added a little button called the Activate AI Feedback Assistant. As you pop it open, this is what it gives you. This is what its response is. So it starts off with that response analysis, saying, here are some places where it met the criteria that you gave it. Here's an area for improvement. Here's another area for improvement. It pre-writes some feedback form, and then it tries to mark against the students, the teacher's grading rubric, giving rationales so that the teacher can then read through this and use this either to go, yeah, that makes sense, I agree with that, and then go ahead and mark and give feedback appropriately, or go, actually, this jumps out at me as incorrect, and the teacher is in control to push that back. And there's, some features we've added in, again, based off of our initial feedback, like teachers can choose to rewrite it to be simpler, more complex, add custom mark schemes like just for one learner if required, or because it writes again with that growth mindset, here's what you can do to improve. That doesn't work for everything. B-text, you can't do that. So we also have a ability to rewrite it to get rid of all of that. Here's what you can do to improve, and just write feedback on, you met this, here's why. And back to the presentation. Zoom. There we go. So this is a multi-step process again on the back end. We're not just chucking it over to ChatGPT on this one. So the AI reads the assignment content, reads the uploaded briefs, does a cross-check against specifications to find relevant data there. If there's a rubric, it uses that. It builds marking rules, it applies the marking rules, and then it goes through and does separate queries for all the little bits of feedback. Now, I've got some staff feedback up on here, but I saw a great question from Fiona about what students think that potentially the feedback was suggested generated via AI. That is a really good question, and that comes down to tutor transparency and usage around these things, because we did run some pilots based on this. And in the pilots, we were very transparent about what the tools did and how the tutors were using them. And actually, in the pilot on that, the students reported that they thought they were getting much better feedback and much more personal feedback as a result of this, because we were transparent about, the AI is going to read this and identify some places, and then the teacher will use it to write feedback to them. And the teachers actually did write more personal feedback with them that, took more of the teacher's own knowledge about the student and their specific needs, because of all the time that had been offloaded onto this AI tool doing all of the preparatory work on this. And that was really successful. But at the same time, Fiona, we have had students who have expressed trepidation or, oh, I don't want my teacher to be using AI feedback like this because I don't want it, what's the point if no one's going to read it? So, it really comes down to whether the teacher is transparent, I think, and using it in a way that supports and upholds that relationship with the student. I think that can be really positive. But yeah, if the teacher is just using it in lieu of relationship building, that, from what we've seen, that would cause a negative reaction with students, definitely. And so with the feedback assistant usage here, yeah, right now the usage of this thing is at about 1,300 reports that it is producing per month on this one. And it is very spotty within the organization. We're not pushing everybody, oh, use this, use this, use this, because of exactly the point that Fiona brought up. We want to ensure that usage is mindful and meaningful. And so we're working with faculty to create like pilot groups to build little communities of best practice with this tool to ensure that we're getting that message forward. In that pilot, we did run a comparative study where we had two groups of teachers mark the same type of assignment, one group using it with the AI feedback tool, one group without, and it was a savings of 65%, so they marked more a third of the time those that had access to the tool, and again with positive student responses. And this thing is it's very cheap to run. The tokens for this thing with this usage are only about £15 a month. So the development time obviously was not small, but the ongoing usage of it is very expensive. Okay, so that's my bit of talking.